understand you, but you try to understand me also, please. So, as I say, take a look to the world. Yeah, you have a world of references. Did you know that in the Pasqua Island, these things, you know what is the name? Moais. This kind of big statues. Usually, we only watch your upper side, the upper side of these statues, but I don't know if you know that they are full-bodied. Yeah? They are really bigger than that they seems at the beginning. If you take a look on our references, our world references, you will see that we have a lot of places, really interesting places that you will really can use as a starting point to create your own wall or a specific place if you want. This is Petra, for example. Mm, a really nice and absolutely astounding place on the middle of Jordania. És una ciutat sencera. You are looking only for one temple, but there are like, I don't know, 2.000 temples com aquest dintre de la ciutat. Take a look to them. It's really interesting. Just taking a look to some images, if you write down lost civilizations in the Google, you will take really good references. And then you can enter on this kind of conspirationist, wave. If you do it, you don't need to believe these things to use it as something interesting in your plots when you are creating your world building. For example, you have here different shape of pyramids, and you will see that most of them looks really close. You can use it on your own setting, on your own world, and these things are going to create the sense that what usually people be afraid to consider on the real world, the conspirationist approach. If I am talking about of ancient civilizations coming from the aliens and these kind of things, the reptilian things and these kind of things, usually people are going to take a look to me as a crazy or as a mad. And usually I'm not going to say nothing. But in a fantasy world, your characters can think like this because they are able to do it. Nobody's going to go there to just um, para juzgarlos. And in fact, you are going to take a look to some interesting things. Look at these two pictures, guys. This is coming from Egypt and this is coming from Ecuador. I was trying to watch for the sources of these images, and I wasn't lucky. But if it is true, it's really interesting that the picture looks really, really, really close, isn't it? Well, I think that they give you this task. Uh, you can just add it to your deliver. Okay. I take a look to some of these tasks on the drive folder, and I am really impressed. You have a really good level of creativity. It's not all something that happens uh, on all the courses that or all the years that I teach this subject. Sometimes I have troubles, but I think that you have a good level of creativity. We will see. Okay, take a look to these things, and with these things is a note to create a good world building, or at least a starting point. You know, it's not a trouble if we have more sessions about world building, like destroy the wall, like create a map, like the inhabitants. These are going to be the next sessions. It is okay. Uh, you don't need to be worried if you don't include maps. If you don't include a destroying, well, destroying the wall is something that you will need to explain. You know, but maps or inhabitants, you can create whatever you want. You just release your creativity and your mind, and then in new iterations of this work, you will include maps and you will include inhabitants and you will include more things. So don't feel preset for the list of contents. Just do whatever that you want but try to create a good work with a structure, with important key points. I really like when in the presentation of this of your fellows, when they start talking about physics, cosmology, society, culture, economy, this kind of things. Just to create topics and write down half a page of each one of them, and you will end up with a good world building. You know, which game is this? We take a look to examples in the last session or not? I hope not. Listen, it's not. We didn't. That's okay. This is Fallout, as you can see. In Fallout, they use they usually use this focus type approach. There are few things, or at least it seems that there are few things, because in fact you have finally collect a lot of things and end up with tons of munition and really weird things like fan, no sé cómo os digo en aspas en inglés, ¿no? Aspas de ventilador, juguetes, pelotas de no sé qué, everything. But the first approach and the thing that they are all the time trying to convey you is that the wallet is really fucked up, and the common of the people usually doesn't have access to weapons, to food, to water, clean water or something like that. Focus type. Yeah? His world building is creating around the focus type pillar, around the sandbox pillar, so you can go wherever you want. Yeah? There is not a linear history that forces you to go to one specific place. In fact, if you are just wandering the world and trying to discover next places, different places, and so you will start new quest lines, that can make you go to very different places that the places that are highlighted in your main quest. And another pillar of Fallout is the customization of Fallout 4 at least. It's the customization system, or mechanics. I give you here a link to build it before you break it. A good article coming from the game designers of Fallout. Another interesting game is it's Cyberpunk 2077. In Cyberpunk, we are facing a dystopia. Can you remember the dystopia? Okay. Uh, another interesting article coming from his game designers is this article who talks about the credible world. They has a main pillar, a core pillar when they were creating the world building of the Cyberpunk 2077, and this main pillar was this needs to feel like a credible world. We cannot, no, we cannot invent things that doesn't feel absolutely real and at some point absolutely close to our world. You know, if we are creating cyber implants, we are taking a look what the things are seems to evolve in a close future. If we are taking a look to Matrix, if you are taking a look to drugs, if you are taking a look to the shape of the cities or the buildings itself, we need to take a look to our own world and make an evolving, um, so the players or the readers, the players can feel that this world, the world of cyberpunk, is something that can happen in a close future. This was the main pillar, the credible technology, the credible world. Another key points or pillars was in deep character creation, that you can have some kind of romance options, you know, and you can watch the incredible weapon variety. These things are not highlighted here as a game design, choices. Are highlighted here as a world building choices. You know, the in deep character creation it's shaping my world building. So I will need to create a lot of different cultures, races, and mix them all in a specific hubs that we can call cities. Cities itself becomes the world in Cyberpunk 2077. Okay, so you can tell me, hey Juan, can I create a world building of a specific city? Yes, you can do it. In fact, it's a kind of advice. Take a look if you are creating your world. You don't so don't create really huge walls. You can just focus on a city on your world, but I need to feel this city in detail. I want to know all the nuances of this city, all the things that make this city special. Yeah. Final examples coming from the cells of Celeste. This is a point that I really want to talk with you, at least for a couple of minutes, because many times when I read many books of world building and talk with other game designers and level designers of different studios, sometimes some of them, I think that it's the heart, or the fanatic, uh, or the technical profile, uh, sometimes their approach is that, or this is something like platforms doesn't need world building, or platformers don't need strong characters, or platformers don't need storytelling at all. And then I look to Dead Cells, I look to Celeste, I look to Hollow Knight, and I say this is not true, man. I think that I try to understand what they are trying to tell me, but it's not really difficult for you to write down a couple of pages of the world building of your platformer. It's not really difficult for you of write down a couple of pages of your characters, or at least of your main character and your antagonist force, and it's not a big trouble for you trying to write down a kind of history or adventure. When you are playing Dead Cells, I don't know if you know this game, guys, but it's a really good game. I am pretty sure that you know it, but you need to play it. Anytime that you read a couple of lines of lore, the whole level gets some meaning, and I really feel it as rewards this kind of this kind of sentences about the lore, as I am understanding the things better, isn't? And something else, uh, something like this, it's happening with Celeste. Every time that someone tell me something in a dialogue, and I understand a little bit more what is happening and who I am and what I am struggling on or fighting on, I feel a lot better the world. So, for me, platforms need to have some kind of world building, some kind of character developing or creation, you know, and some kind of story and adventure. And it's a work of a couple of afternoons, and they will mm, aid you and help you to create a good goal. Even a bad game with a little bit of good world building, character development, and storytelling can become a good game itself. And if not, take a look to some games that, in fact, doesn't have any kind of good mechanics or systems of mechanics, but thanks to his world building, character creation, and storytelling, becomes superb uh, games like The Last of Us, Uncharted, or Greece itself. This kind of game doesn't have any kind of good mechanics. In fact, can be considered as a bad games if you are looking to them only from the mechanical approach. But their history, their characters, their storytelling, their game feel, their music, all of these things are transforming these games from a very common mechanic approach to a superb games. Are you agree with me, guys? Thank you very much. I give you some bibliography here. Take a look to this bibliography, because you will have a lot of interesting information if you want to create your first deliver. Some webgraphy also, and some things that you can read just for fun. Top 10 weird activities around the world. That's okay. Take a look if you feel tired and you need a rest. couple of recommended videos, and this is a really recommended video. I really encourage you to take a look to this video, but we don't have time right now. And now let me start the new topic, destroy the wall. We have only 30 minutes more. Give me a minute to go to the bathroom, and I will come back in a few, okay? Just a minute. So I am back. Let's take a look to this. The next day, you guys who are making the presentation will nuance a little bit this thing. So now that I try to teach you how to create a wall, how to select your tone of fantasy, that's the first thing that you will need to do, and I am going to consider when grading your first deliver, your tone of fantasy, which one of the different tones of fantasy do you select, because this is going to give you the clues and the important pillars of all the other things, or of your context. First, you need to select a tone of fantasy. When you selected it, you will need to take a decision. You will take a decision about what kind of model I'm going to use. I encourage you, and I think it's a good clue, a good advice to go inside out. It means from the bottom up. It is easier for you, this approach, but you can do anything that you want. Then you will start creating your wall, and when you finish creating your wall, in fact, you will need to destroy it, because without conflict we don't have any kind of history or adventure. We need to destroy the wall. Really, we don't need to destroy it, but at least we need to threaten it. Necesitamos amenazarlo. Because if we are living in a world with any kind of threat, we usually don't have any kind of opportunities to save it. That's what we are looking for. So let's take a look to how to destroy the wall, which kind of consequences destroying the wall will have, and the concept of cataclysm. In world-building models, we talk about the concept of lost civilizations, and in this session, Destroy the Wall, we are going to take a look to the same concept, the cataclysm, in the same way, in the same shape. Look, I think that an important advice here is to look to our world building, and I think this is super important. Hear me, please, guys. Look to our world building as an engine to create different conflicts. It is said as an conflict generator. That's the most important part of our world building. Create a place, a background, a context, an engine, to give to our characters and his motivations and a good amount of conflicts that can feel interlinked, interrelated, and believable. So, mireu el món com un generador de conflictes. Tengo que crear un mundo que genere conflictos. That's an important advice, I think. Which one can be the different causes of destroying the wall? or threatening the world. First, we have natural disasters. We talk about a couple of them. For example, ecological disasters. We watch it. This kind of tides coming from the melting of the polar caps, the extinction of flora or fauna, the extinction of a specific um, como es digo, spice of flora or fauna can somehow, you know, threaten our world. Uh, for example, dragons, if we want to talk about fantasy, the extinction of dragons. Maybe we are dragon hunters and there are only a couple of them existing or remaining on the entire world. Plagues and viruses, we are striking with this thing, struggling with this thing right now on our world. For sure, is a kind of natural disaster, Mm, well, maybe it's not a natural disaster, it's a human being thing, sometimes, but sometimes these kind of things, maybe by the hand of the man or the human being, or maybe by themselves, become a really global trouble, Then we have geological disasters like volcanoes, meteorites, earthquakes, fire, water, everything. And I want to highlight one thing that I really like, that it's related with the stars or the sun itself, to be more specific, And there are a lot of different world building settings that work super well that are related to the sun, are related to the some kind of eclipse that is going to force something super special, like an apocalypse or the rising of a new era or something like that. Some science fiction settings use the sun as a source of energy, warmth, light, everything, and dying of the sun, it's going to be the main trouble, and we need to do something. So we need to travel to the sun, or we need to travel in the cosmos, or universe to do something specific or to get something specific. This is a good approach, more for science fiction settings, but at some point you can use it also, the sun, the moon, the prophecies, the eclipses, these kind of things, as a kind of natural disaster who is going to reshape our world, Um, Another important source of troubles and conflicts and another source to destroy our world is the inhabitants' greed, la avaricia dels seres humans. At some point, this grid can force us to the war, a war for resources. For example, um, it's a good place to start. A war for resources. Some of these resources can be, not exactly necessary, like petrol or like gold, but at some point it can be crucial, like water, like food, like oxygen, like a place to live who is not, fucked up with radioactivity or something like that. We are going to talk. Related to the war for resources, if you are taking a look at how to really destroy our world, we can talk about nuclear winter or the greenhouse effect, which is the same thing, but this is faster. Guys, what it is, the nuclear winter? El invierno nuclear. It's a theory. Well, I don't know if it's a theory or not, but for example, in Metro and Fallout, I am not pretty sure. But you can watch it in Matrix, for example. If there is a kind of nuclear war, the ashes coming from the destruction of our world is going to be on the atmosphere for 100 years, and the sun rays are not going to penetrate these ashes, so they are not going to be able to warm up our climate or weather, and finally we'll end up with a kind of nuclear of winter, of 100 years, uh, lasting for 100 years. That's what we understand as a nuclear winter. if I am not wrong. Okay. War for the kind of consequences, war for energy resources, everything. Another important thing is the overpopulation in the inhabitants grid. The overpopulation can be treated as a science fiction shape or way to fuck up our world building, or can be treated as a the force that some specific races push to other specific races, like humans destroying the forest of the elves, like goblins pushing the dwarves on his own mines on the caves and inside of the mountains, like I don't know, pirates riding islands or the coast on a human empire, like people needing to go to another planet to colonize it because we don't have space and resources on our own planet. And in this planet, there lives another kind of living beings, who are menaced and threatened by this kind of movements. That's the overpopulation topic, and I think that it's a really interesting topic because it's linked with this thing that I told you about can you remember dystopia, utopia, and exodus? Can you remember the exodus? Yeah? Well, take a look to it. Another important, yeah. Another important thing in the inheritance grid is the genetic engineering, and this is a hot topic. This is an interesting and hot topic nowadays because a lot of different world building settings, science fiction world building settings, works around this thing. Community and society, our society, is really worried about this thing, but at the same time has a lot of hope on this thing, the genetic engineering. It will come the day that we can just farm our own clones and use them if we need a new liver, a new heart, a new lung, or a new stomach, and just kill them. This is something that is going to happen. The genetic engineering talks a lot about diversity. For example, I don't know if you know it, but there are some clinics on California. I don't know if they are legal right now, but at the time they are legal, where you can choose the color of the hair of your newborn, or the color of his eyes. Em sembla que existeixen a Califòrnia, clíniques on pots escollir el color dels ulls, el color del cabell dels teus fills, etcétera, etcétera. Y te hacen una fecundación in vitro y venga, pues tienes el hijo. Well, this thing it's fighting with diversity a lot. And there are some examples in good science fiction books and movies and video games also who are fighting with this concept. For example, if you can choose if your daughter or your son is smart or not, if you can just take this thing in a survey, for sure you are going to say, I want to have a smart son, Yeah, Gataka. I am talking about Gataka. You have we have an example at the beginning of this presentation. I don't want to talk about Gataka specifically because I have it on the examples, but we can do it. In Gataka, a really good movie, people can be. There are two kinds of people for sure. There are people who are genetically modified to be smarter, so they can go to spatial travels, but there are people who are not genetically modified to be smarter. Take a look to this movie if you can. It's a really good movie. The thing is that genetic engineering, if I can, if the technology is giving to us the chance to choose what we want, at the very end we will end up with something that will be a little bit weird though, and we'll have really hard conflicts with diversity. We'll end up being the same. tío, gente fuerte, guapa, inteligente, que vive muchos años, etcétera, etcétera. This is fucking up the diversity concept, okay? Let me give you the last point here. The terrible advance of technology. This is an important point, different from the inhabitants grid and different from the natural disaster approach. The terrible advance of the technology is when the human being, the human civilization, lost the control of the technology, and technology becomes something important by itself, or becomes something, a weapon, in specific hands that usually are not worried about the consequences. Nuclear, it's probably the most well-known and worked out concept of the losing the control of the technology, the terrible advance of the technology. And usually it's, or in classical times was related to weapons, but nowadays, you know that we have a lot of different settings of wolves who lost control of the nuclear facilities, las nuclear generators, electricity generators. This can, maybe it's not a hot topic right now, but I think that it's a cannon, to destroy the world. Another important terrible advance comes from the exploiting, of different technologies. For example, as we said on genetic on humans, the same concept exists with plants and with animals that we consume. And harvesting these resources can be something that technology can fastener, a lot, can do it a lot super quick, and can become the destroying or at some point threatening our world. As you may know, the Brazilian and the Amazonian forest is going to be all burned just to make it a place to the cows, that we consume. But the thing is that blah blah blah. All these things. Harvesting resources, the human control. That's an important exploiting thing also. The human control. The robots, right? we can, or androids, or whatever you want, we can create this kind of things to help us to do, hard tasks or tasks that we don't want to do. But at some point we can lose control of these androids, and the exploitation of these androids can become something that can threaten our world. You can watch, for example, or even better, read the book of Blade Runner. ¿Sueñan los androides con ovejas electrónicas? It's a book of Philip K. Dick, probably one of the best science fiction writers of all times. And finally, we talk a little bit about genetics and transhumanism. Genetics and transhumanism are a really good source, as I said on the last point, and the terrible advance of these technologies can become something threatening for the humanity. You can relate here the flora and fauna transhumanism. I'm going to show you a video right now. The human genetics itself, we talk about this, or the cyborgs. Cyborgs are the mixes about robots and humans. And at some point, make you the same question. If you have the choice, to have iron arms instead of your fluffy arms, and become a strange human, why you are not going to do it? If you have the chance to have a cybernetical heart, or have a cybernetical liver, and you can drink whatever you want and become drunk, but without consequences. If you can have super powerful legs, if you can have super powerful and improved vision and new eyes or everything, why are you are not going to say yes to this? This is an important trap that the being needs to face in the next years, and need to have a choice. What it means to be human, you know? And this is something that a lot of different settings and world buildings and science fiction approaches tries to answer. For example, Ghost in the Shell. Well, the thing is not the body itself. You can change your body. The thing is the soul. And what it is, this soul? In the very old times, people think that soul resides on the earth. Then people think that soul resides on the brain itself. And I think that nowadays we are not talking about soul like in the old games, but I feel that you catch me, isn't? In fact, if we can, we are going to change the whole body because the body is going to die and it's not a good system as we know it. We want to be cyborgs, isn't? Or you don't? Well, that's a kind of question that you can ask yourself until which point I am disposed, you know, to change parts of my body to improve it. And when I am becoming more droid than a human? That is an important question. You can take a look to it. And I don't know if you know Ghost in the Shell or Alita. It's a great comic also. I don't watch the movie. I don't know if the movie is well done, but I'm really a fan and a lover of Alita, and I don't want to see this movie. And other things, you know, there are a lot of different places that you can take a look to cybernetical approach. Yeah? Well, can you remember this slide, please? Sí? Francisco Guerrero Vicente, te'n recordes tu d'aquesta slide, per favor? O tothom, i quan el pròxim dia, quan pregunti per quina slide em vaig quedar, em dieu aquesta. Que avui hi ha hagut un silenci com de... Per favor, vale? Jo no me'n recordaré. Let me show you a video to finish. Well, well, there are a lot of work around genetically modified animals, you know. This is an example, los conejos fluorescentes o las ratas fluorescentes, experiments at some point experiments coming incluidos desde el mundo del arte. Creo que esto de las ratas o de los conejos lo hizo un artista que quería hacer como una especie de performance y cruzó. I am not pretty sure. I am not pretty sure. ¿Los conocíais, los conejos fluorescentes? Well. Sí, no parece una no parece una skill por parte de los conejos demasiado buena para sobrevivir en el bosque de noche, ¿no? Ya, entiendo por qué no han evolucionado hacia ese lugar. Bueno, take a look to these kind of things and you can have some clues to create your own world building. Teniu alguna pregunta de cara a l'entrega, nois? Hem invertit aquests últims 4 minuts en parlar d'això. Is any question on this deliver? Want to know something? Voleu saber alguna cosa? Us queda clar? Si no us queda clar el que sigui, s'entreguen la part del l'enllaç i la teva juntes, no? Sí, s'entreguen les dues juntes en un sol PDF ben diferenciat. Parte del Joan, World Building, bla, bla, bla. Parte del Lasse, Combat, o no sé què us ha demanat. Bla, 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 bla. Bueno, sí que ho sé, el combat i tal. Sí? I les regles aquestes. Si teniu problemes, aneu al campus i mireu les instruccions. Si tot i així encara teniu problemes, aneu al campus i mireu, almenys de part meva, els exemples de grans treballs dels anys passats que han tret un 10. Vale? Vale. Bueno, si no hi ha gaires preguntes, anirem acabant. I el que fem amb el LASE ha d'estar relacionat amb el wall building. És ideal si ho pots relacionar, però no és imprescindible. Hauríeu d'intentar que estigui interrelacionat, perquè així tindreu un treball que després podeu fotre en el portafoli, no són dues coses separades totalment. Vale? És ideal que ho pugueu interrelacionar, però si no, doncs no sé, no passa res si us costa una mica, és que són dues coses molt diferents. Bueno, doncs com vosaltres vulgueu. Vale? O almenys per part meva no és imprescindible. Ok? Vinga, doncs ho deixem ja, nois. Que vagi bé, fins el dilluns que ve, si teniu cap dubte... Ah, tenim memes, vale. Game Design, Pick of the Week Challenge... hauríem d'anar posant les setmanes, no? Estan aquí els memes, Marc? Són aquests dos? A veure, Design JPG. All right. No l'havia vist. Para mi col·lecció de memes de vàters. Sabeu que n'hi ha tants de vàters? Jo flipo. Hi ha 50.000 imatges de cagades en els... Bueno, cagades no, literalment. de cagades de disseny en el vàter. Ja, shit happens. Que heavy, tio, però com se'ls en va la pilota d'aquesta manera, tio? Esa no la tenia. What the fuck? Boníssim. Qui l'ha posat, aquesta? Molt bé, Àngel. Me parto, tio. Boníssim. Boníssim. Bill first, think later. Clar que sí, tio. Hòstia, me parto con esto, tio. Molt bé, aquesta li passaré al meu germà, que li farà molta gràcia. Molt bé, nois, res, ja veieu. Si aneu tenint memes, sempre als 5 minuts abans de classe digueu i acabem la classe amb unes risilles, no? Que sempre és agraït després d'escoltar-me a mi parlar sense parar. Ok, merci per vindre a classe, nois. Cuideu-vos i treballeu molt aquesta setmana. Si teniu dubtes, per mail. Que vagi bé.
Okay, good morning, guys. Let's prepare today's class. Yeah, no more lamps. There. Uh, mm, Actually, no, let's close that because I'm gonna do it on the. Good afternoon. Technically, it's still 1 hour and 15 minutes until the afternoon. So, okay, let's change here. I think I have letter. Okay. Um, Actually, I'll open. Yeah, let's go through the terminal because I think I can make it on the side. Oops, no. Okay, something like that. So I have flatter there. Let's create a new one, which I'll call light bulb. Now let's call it stateful because we might make some more examples inside of here. If anybody wants to create a new project for today, a good name would be stateful because we will be studying stateful widgets today. Let's create that. Okay. I'm Mark. I'm just making a new project for the examples I'm gonna be doing. That's it. So now I do stateful. That's the name of the project, stateful. Nice. Then I'll remove the test. We don't need the test actually. Okay. The other day I found out that I can compile in the Windows version and then so the native version and then make it bigger. So maybe I'll do that. I'll try that today. Let's first remove the comments from these templates because I don't like that. And then Shift Alt F. Okay, let's leave it like that, and I'll try to compile for Windows if that's better. Maybe it's faster. Probably it's downloading the Windows 64. Okay. And let me also get the slides because we have them. Can I do? If I do like that, yeah, it always asks me what other window do I have to put, and I don't want any other window. By the way, yeah, I have to put a folder in there because I filled it for this guy in Terraza. Yeah, this one. So in here, except this one, because I'm gonna make new examples today. All of that I'll copy to 2021. Yeah, that's the one. Copy. So I'll go back. So today is this one. So confusing. Okay, that's what I meant. I'll leave it actually at the last part. Here you have lists of slides for what I'll be explaining today and the next classes. I don't know exactly. It's gonna be 3 sessions. They are kind of 3 parts here. Yeah. But you have the videos and the slides, but I really want the slides because these slides have a couple of diagrams that I want to show you. What's going on? Come on, let me click on the, this is so stupid. Now I am kind of trapped. I cannot click the window. That's totally unfortunate and stupid. Come on, go away. Ah, Jesus Christ. It's automatically hide. Come on. Why is it on? I hate Windows with a passion, by the way. I suppose you can see that. But now the taskbar. Okay, you have to click the Windows button. Okay, so it got in a stupid state now. Why is that? Because of the. And what is this? Okay, this is the Windows. This is what I was compiling. Let's see. Yeah, it goes quite much faster than the other thing. And also, I think because my screen is not so big, probably you can see good enough. Okay, let's try the counter. That's good. And these are the slides.
You are not sharing the screen.
Oh, sorry. Thanks a lot. Stupidity total. Da, da, da. Yeah, let me change something here. Surveys continuously. No, exactly. That's what I wanted. Okay, here's the diagram. Let's share the screen now. Sorry, guys. But I was sharing the screen. Why did it stop? Actually, so it stopped by itself in a way. Yeah, that's curious. So let's see how is the font size for the Flutter demo homepage? This one is it okay? Actually, I can move it now and see the chat below. Ah, that's nice. I can make it ultra small. Is it fine? You can see fine now? Okay, super. Yeah, it is sharing. So let's keep an eye on that because I thought I started sharing and for some reason maybe on this mess with the Windows bar I lost it or something. Let's make the chat a little smaller and then the demo a little bigger like that, and then we can kind of keep it like this for a while, I think. Okay, I am compiling for the native Windows version, so I installed Visual Studio, and then it is using the shell, the Flutter shell for Windows apps. So this is a native Windows app right now, running Dart inside and all that stuff. Okay, so let's start with the subject of today. I think the other day I was running too fast. I'm sorry about that. But today I really need not to go fast so that you understand really well, because um, the subject of today is widgets with have state underneath, and we have been using all these stateless widgets all the time, and actually we were using this template for writing them. But today we need to go to actually use stateful widgets and know what they are and when we need them and things like that. So yeah, I have to make a good example so that you see. For starters, I will split this file. I don't actually like the template, so I'm gonna actually erase almost everything. I'll keep this my app thing, even if I will change the name to app, just app, like that. It takes a while, by the way. Oof, too much. Amazing. Okay, look, I don't know, 10 seconds it took. Okay. Then down here, so I'm changing the app to just a scaffolding here, and I'm gonna split it in pieces, and later on I will upload this code. So don't worry too much about following if you have problems. But if you wanna follow, I'll try to be not so fast. Yeah, actually, if I save that, I should see. It's complaining because it was a stateful widget before, so now, yeah, it should be like white. And let's take a second to disable the banner. I'm increasingly fed up with the banner, so usually I take it off. Now, a typical structure for apps would be the main file only saying run app, and this app thing, this is a widget, but it represents the whole app. I'll cut it, and I'll put it on a special file by itself, like new file app dart. If for any reason anything happens with the screen sharing and stuff, just tell me by raising your hand, for instance. Or actually, I didn't hear the I think the sounds on the chat were off. Can anybody send a message on the chat to see that I can hear messages on the chat? Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, because before Frances told me you're not sharing, and I didn't hear that, and I used to hear it, so I don't know why I lost that setting, but anyway, okay, I have it now. Yeah. So we leave the main like this. We put up here. Then I can save. Sorry, I'll save app. Yeah. Again, okay. Oh, the chat is not going down. Oh, it stopped. My God. What's going on? I don't know. Why are you saying, Thomas, that it was you? I don't understand. Oh no, guys, no, don't touch that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, try not to touch anything. I'll try to add the stuff. I don't know why you can change things, people. Now it shows me this, but it's too big. Okay. Yeah, it's it's too big now. Yeah. Oof, my God. That's why I don't like Adobe Connect because of this. Okay. Somebody changed that. So we are back to kind of normal now. Actually, I'll do something which is something I can only do, and I'll put everyone as participant instead of presenter, because if you make mistakes like that, then yeah. Well, I don't think it was um, on purpose, and if it was, then yeah, then it's not funny. But anyway, now you are not presenters anymore, so you cannot speak freely. But since we are using the chat mostly, I think that's okay. Jama is telling me something. Okay, let's leave it. Let's leave that behind and concentrate on the session. Okay. Okay, I'll go back to the. I'll go back to the program now. Okay. Nice. Oh, guys, just you can discuss that on your Discord or something, but don't put it here, because every time you write something, I hear click clack. So it better be important, yeah. So there's 23 people. Like we are. Let's not mess with stuff. Yeah, it's okay. Let's start the class. Yeah. So I was doing this cutting of the code, and then on here on the main I have to say where the app is, and I'll import it, and you see that there's this import library, and there are two ways. Let's import it in a relative path. So I'll put import appdart, which is a file which is on the same folder as main, and that's why it says appdart only. And there are two ways of doing that, one with the package and one without, and I want you to do it without for the code which is inside this project. This is a little small detail, but okay. And the next thing I'll do for more organizing is I'll put some screen, new folder screens, and I'll call main screen start um, here, and then this scaffold here is going to be the main screen. So let's create it by hand. STLS flutter stateless, which I'll call it main screen. And the main screen is just the same scaffold, but this time let's put some up bar maybe, I don't know. Up bar with title. This I didn't do many times, so let's do it once again. Let's call it stateful widget. Something like that. And then a comma here. It's complaining because I didn't import package flutter material. Let's import that. And then I'll save that. Now if I go to app now, instead of scaffold, let's call main screen then. Main screen. If I wait a little bit, it's gonna tell me auto import from package blah blah. I'll click the constructor, but now you see it inserted the a absolute path. I'm gonna change that. So I'll say from that directory I'm in. If I say screen slash main screen, I get to that. And one funny thing, if you press Shift Alt O, it organizes imports, even removes the imports you don't need and things like that. So it's like a automatic reorganization of the imports. And then it separates the local ones from the package ones. And that is nice because we see what widgets we are using from our own project, or what libraries, in this case Flutter, from outside. Okay. And then I'll save both files, this and this. Now it should refresh. There's nothing except for the it didn't change. Yeah, let's restart it. It should appear with yeah, stateful widgets. That's the up bar. That's nice. So we can work with that. Yeah. Okay, so the theme of today is the fact that until now we were only painting the screen, but we want to do apps, and apps in general respond to the clicks of the user and the things the user does, and they keep some data behind it, which I told you was called the model. But it also it's sometimes called the state of an application. The state, what's the state? The state is something, for instance, if you have a list, the state of the list is the position in the list you are looking at, for instance, of you are pressing a button, that the fact that the button is pressed, or maybe that there is a menu that is open, or anything like that. There's lots of state on an app. So the app is in a certain state. Now the thing is that Flutter works like this. We have stateless widgets, and until now we were just in a way telling Flutter to paint things by constructing hierarchies of objects. So when I say, let's put something in the body here. If I say body, the body is a center child with some text which says blah blah blah. I don't care much, but that's a little hierarchy of objects. And you know that the other day we were kind of pushing it in this sense. We were making lots and lots of widgets. All of that was configuration in a way. All of those are objects that are immutable. Every time you want to repaint or change anything, you recreate not the whole hierarchy, or maybe only a part, but all those widgets were stateless, where they didn't have any state associated with them. Okay, and that's going to change today because we're going to do something else. In fact, I think yeah, what I'll do is let me open the files, because I have an example and some files in there that I want to share with you. If anybody wants to follow that while I do it, let's go to Flutter, this lamp one, and yeah, those two files. I'll copy those and I'll bring them to the stateful project. Here I'm looking at the project from the Explorer. And I'll make a shortcut now. Come on, new folder. That's it, and I'll call it assets. And inside this assets folder, I'll put these files, and I should see that here. So now I have two files which are kind of a light bulb which is on or off. It's just a drawing. Okay. Something else I wanted to do, yeah, absolutely, is let me try if I can upload to the yeah, no, actually I'll do it easier. I'll put it on the campus. Let's compress this to a zip file. If anybody wants to use that, I'll upload it to the campus right in front of you, so you'll see So let's put it archive. Yeah, the theme kind of seems like assets, light bulb, all these lamps and light bulbs and stuff. It seems like a theme by itself, but it's not super intentional. But a light bulb is something which, if you think about it, has the minimal state possible. Like it's just a boolean, no? It's either on or off. That's it. So that's the minimal state possible. Okay, if you want the assets that I will be using, you have them already on the campus. Okay. Which are these two. You can decompress that folder on your project, and that'll be it. So let's close that. Actually, I have to register these assets. Let's go back here. I'll show you something else. If I select 2 or 3 lines and then press Control K, Control C. Oh, sorry, Control K, Control U. It removes the comments. So it's also a very quick way to remove them. So let's say assets, and that's it. And this registers any file within the assets folder. So it will register both the light bulb on and off. So I'll save that. And then it says Flutterpub get running. And in theory, well, it takes a while. Yeah, it takes much longer than I thought. Whatever. But now I can use them. Let's try one of those, okay? Instead of saying text blah blah, let's put the image asset, and it was like assets. The folder is important. Light bulb off PNG. That was one of them. Let's try that one and see if the it didn't like that. Let's see if the assets are okay. Light bulb off or on. Actually, yeah, let's reload like that and see if that works. Yeah, now it does work. I had to restart. Okay, that's I don't know if that's totally necessary, but it's a little too big. So let's put this image inside a container, and the container is gonna have a width of 150. If I constrain the width of an image, it's gonna be smaller like that. Okay. Actually, I could see the resolution that wasn't fine. Okay. Now the thing is, we are going towards a program in which the light bulb is controlled by ourselves. Okay. So I would like to click this light bulb. Okay. And then it should turn on, and then whenever I click it again, it turns off. That's it. It's a very simple thingy. Yeah. To do that, I'll start by creating a stateless widget first, which is gonna be this container with the light bulb inside, and I'll do a typical extract widget thing like control dot, and I'll say extract widget, and I'll call it light bulb. Yeah, light bulb. Okay. Yeah. And here's where the thing has to really change. This light bulb, by the way, I'm going to put it in a new folder because I'm kind of want to organize today. I don't know why. Let's say widgets and create a new file called light bulb dart. And in here, I'll just copy or actually cut this code, and then we can import it from there. And here I'll say control dot and then package flutter material. If at any point I go too fast, please tell me. Otherwise, I probably sometimes get excited and start running. So if I run too fast, just stop me, please. The other day, yeah, it wasn't nice, but I had to run a little. But today I don't want to run. So if you really think I'm going too fast, stop me. Okay, light bulb. I'll do control dot here, and it's gonna. And here it's interesting. It says import library package stateful. That is okay, but I again will change the directory. So I'll say instead of package stateful, I'll do dot dot. And as you can see from main screen, to go to the light bulb, I have to do dot dot, which goes up one directory and then inside widgets light bulb. Okay. So the dot means parent directory. I'll do Shift Alt O, and then the organize imports does that thing. Okay, so we could actually close everything and now concentrate on the light bulb widget. Is it fine until here? Okay, because yeah, unless yeah, I want to check with you guys. Is it fine? Everybody following? Am I going too fast or what? Or is it okay? All okay. Jaume says all okay. Okay, that's fine. But anybody else has any complaints? None. That's nice. Okay, perfect. So let's concentrate on this example now. Now, the thing is, as I told you, Lightbulb is now a stateless widget still, and that means that when Flutter has to paint it, it will call the build method and produce a container of width 150 with which inside has an image and blah blah. And this is a stateless widget, which means that yeah, it's like a piece of cardboard. It's like something that cannot change ever. And if you want to change it, then you have to recreate it. Okay, that's the idea in Flutter. Now we don't want that. We want something else. We want the widget itself to keep a boolean inside, so that whenever I click it, the boolean changes, and now that boolean is gonna drive the building of the widget, because in case the boolean is true or false, then the asset should change. So the asset might be off or on depending on that boolean. Yeah. Now the way Flutter does this is by introducing a different kind of widget, which by the way is even a little more than that, because you will see that when I go to stateful widgets, I will have to write two classes, not one. In fact, I will, yeah, I should have written it from the start, but I think it's okay if we do it automatically. Let's do it automatically from the start. So if you go to stateless widget part in there and press Ctrl dot now, there's a special option in Flutter which says, okay, you have a stateless widget, you want to convert it to a stateful widget, and let's see what that does. Okay, let's take a look. Instead of writing it ourselves, we can write it. We can ask it Ctrl dot. Yeah, Ctrl dot. It's the same key for doing anything in Flutter and yeah, and importing. So Ctrl dot, and then the Ctrl dot has this specific only one option for this case, which is convert to stateful widget. And I'll click there, and you will see that the thing splits into two. It's quite funny. Now the lightbulb class is extending from stateful widget. Yeah, okay. But it only has one method, which is create state. And the create state returns one object which is from a class which is defined down here. And you can see now that the suggested or generated name for this was taking light bulb as a name and appending state to it, and also prefixing it with the underscore, which, as you remember, makes it private in a way. Like nobody can use the light bulb state class from outside this file light bulb. So only light bulb can use that class. Okay. So the splitting is curious. So the way Flutter does this is it says, okay, I'll keep thinking that that widgets are kind of only configuration. So light bulb class is, even if it's stateful, if it's a stateful widget, is only configuration, but the state is in a separate class. And when a widget is stateful, that means it's capable, yeah, it's capable of constructing its own state, its associated state. So this create state is something like this. Create state is Flutter will ask me if I can construct my associated state. Yeah. So whenever Flutter needs that state, it calls the create state method, and you create a light bulb state for it. And Flutter will keep this state. Now, you will see the relation it has with the hot reload stuff later, but this is super important. the fact that Flutter keeps the state by itself. Okay. Now another important thing happens is that we thought that the stateless widgets had a build method because they painted the screen, but now the build method is on the light bulb state. Why is that the case? Well, let's actually fill in what the light bulb state should have, because light bulb state now really doesn't have state yet, because it doesn't have any fields or anything. Let's put some fields. What fields do we need? Well, the light bulb has a very simple state. It's just a boolean. So let's put the boolean in here as a field. Let's say bool is on. Yeah. I'll say in the beginning it is not. It's just not on. In fact, you can really do the constructor stuff and all that. So you could do light bulb state this dot is on false or things like that. Actually, you have to make it with the brackets, or even you can do like not saying anything here and then saying is on equals false. You can do all of that. False. Yeah. You can do that. So all that we studied in the Dart section applies. You have the cheat sheets there. But in general, it's much easier to just initialize it like that. Sometimes you will see that the initialization is a little bit special, but let's go one step at a time. So for now, it's like that when the state is created, any object of type light bulb state is going to have a field called isOn, which starts at the value of false, but it is there. Okay. What I should do now is to use the state for painting. So I will write a getter method. This is just a curiosity, but I think it's nice to put a getter method for that. So I'll say, okay, the asset depends. So look at this. It's like light bulb. In here, I would say, I don't know if on or off. PNG. And inside here, I'll use a $sign, and then I'll ask, is the state on? Because if it's on, I should use the asset which has on, and otherwise I should use the asset that says off. So now you can see that the getter asset will produce the right asset for the state that we are in. That's very important. And now down here, instead of saying the fixed asset, which is the light bulb off, I'll say no, only asset. Asset is a getter. So I can use it like that without parentheses. You can make a method here, it's not a problem. But I think it looks nice with a getter anyway. Yeah, so now you see why the build method went from the widget itself to the widget state, because to paint the widget I have to know what is the state. Yeah, so Flutter, instead of calling the build method on the widget as it does for stateless widgets, it will call the build method for the state, because it's the state who knows what the state is, and therefore knows how to paint depending on the state. Okay, so now we have a split situation. The stateful widget in fact is this little object which has an associated state object on the side. Let's see how this works. It should do the same for now, because the isOn thing is false, and I will be generating the off version of the asset, so I should see that the program does the same. Now I will save this, but I have to press the restart button today, because I have to recreate the state from the beginning. Okay, if I change stuff here and the state is different, I'll have to restart it. Later on we can experiment a little more with this. Okay, so let's restart it and see if the light bulb comes. Yeah, there was a little flash. I don't know if you saw that, probably not. But if you do it yourself, there's a little moment when the light bulb is not on, and then you see some white. Yeah, well, yeah, this isn't a private word. You mean that I have to make it like a private getter like this? You meant, Jaume? A reserved word, you mean? A word from the language. Yeah, no, it is yellow because it detects methods. All methods are yellow. Well, I have my theme, my programming theme is specific in that sense, so the colors might not be the same for you. I use this GraphBox hardened something. The GraphBox theme is this one. It has 6 variants, so it might be different from your case, and that's might confuse. But methods are all in yellow, yeah, more or less. Whatever. So the important part is, okay, now there is a state associated with the light bulb, okay, and it is on, the is on is false, so it's not on, it's off, and it's showing that, and I know the state is there more or less because I reloaded and all that, but I would like to change the state, of course. But let's do something else. What if I put that the light bulb starts at true instead of false? Now I'll explain something very important to you now. So I'll say true here, okay, and now I'll save the file. And in general, when you do this, you see changes on the screen in general, but you won't see any changes this time. And why is that the case? So I'll press save now. Flutter just sends the code again to the application, so it recompiled this file, it sent that file, so everything is fine, but the bulb didn't change. Why not? And the reason is that whenever you do a hot reload, sorry, and hot reload also has a little key here. So if I press this as many times as I want, I can press hot reload, and it won't do anything. Why? Well, because Flutter keeps the state warm. It's like it keeps the state that you had before. It keeps it. And this is important, and you will see later why. Well, in general, it's actually it's not difficult to explain, but in general, Flutter keeps the state you are in because maybe you have a list with 100 elements, and you are on the bottom of this list, and you are touching a widget that only shows at that place, or maybe you have to kind of jump through 5 screens to arrive at the screen you are working now. Now, if the hot reload didn't save the state of the app, you would lose all your position in the app, or you would lose your position in the list. You would lose the state, so you wouldn't be at the same place you were. So keeping the state is important. But now it's a problem for us because I changed the this value of the boolean, and I don't see my light bulb on. What do I have to do? Well, then you have to again press the restart. And this restart and the hot reload and the hot restart are different in that sense. The hot reload keeps the state, and the hot restart recreates the state from the beginning. So if I do this now, I should see a yellow light bulb. Let's try that. Yeah, you see? So now it recreated the state. Since it recreated it and it put a true inside the bulb, now I can check that the state is fine because the light bulb is showing like I expect to, and I just checked that the light bulb works okay using the state, but I cannot change it yet. Okay, is the distinction between the hot reload and the hot restart thing clear right now? Because I need you to understand that really well. Otherwise, the interaction with Flutter is muddled. Yeah, you saw the difference between hot reload and hot restart. For instance, if I put a false here now, I save the file. Is it gonna change the light bulb if I save now only? Actually, I can press the button like the hot reload button. If I press hot reload, it saves the file. Oh no, it didn't save it actually. I have to save it myself. Then this actually produces a hot reload. But the light bulb didn't change. So Adrian, it didn't change. It shouldn't change. Why not? Because Flutter is going to keep the state that was created before. Yeah, it keeps the state. Even if I reprogram my class, it won't call the create state method again. So it won't create a piece of state with the new value. Yeah. To do that, I have to click the restart button, and the restart button like actually re-executes uh, the main function. Yeah, it reruns this. It doesn't recompile the whole thing. It only recompiles the Dart part, and it re-executes that part. Actually, as recompilation goes, it only recompiles whatever has changed, sends the changes, and then reruns the main. When you do that, the whole application will refresh. So let's do that, and then you will see that this goes to gray. It takes a little longer, but it works fine. Okay. Okay, this is all fine, but I want to change the state by clicking. Come on. We should be doing something more interesting. So how do I detect clicks on somewhere and change stuff? Okay, let's go for the easy route now, and I'll show you something later which is very interesting. But for now, let's say, okay, this container is fine. It's making the light bulb a little tighter. But let's put a column in there and put a button below it, okay? So let's do control dot, wrap with column, and then below the container I'll put a raised button. And this raised button, I'll show you later what buttons you have available, but for now let's use the raised button. And the raised button needs a child, which can be anything, by the way. You could put a whole screen inside it if you need it, which is stupid, but Flutter is very, very, how do you say, compositional, like very modular. So in here, you see the child of a button is just a widget. You can put anything you like. So let's put a text then, and I'll say toggle. Let's say toggle. Toggle in English means go from on to off or from off to on. So it's like, yeah, like change all the time. Yeah, toggle. So that's nice. Now, the raise button is complaining that, well, it's a big constructor, but if you go to the top, to the bottom, I mean, then you can read this. The parameter on pressed is required. And I say, okay, here I see the idea. If I write on pressed and pass a function, because this is a function, it's a void function. It doesn't have any parameters and it doesn't return anything. So in Dart, to write a function, I just have to write something like that. That's it. I'll put a comma down here. And in here, I'll write the code that will execute when I click the button. Okay. What do I want to do? Well, we have a state now. I have this variable is on. So what I should do is to change it. Yeah, I should actually, if I say toggle, what I mean is this. It's like is on equals not is on. That's quite easy, isn't it? So I'll say that. So I'll make it the reverse value. So if it's true, I'll make it false, and if it's false, I make it true. That's it. Nice. So yeah, that's so easy. So that changes state, I guess. So let's save that and try it. Actually, the column is too big because it's trying to get all the space vertical. Let's make it smaller. So it's like main axis size. I'll say main axis size minimum, the min. And then if I save that, it'll go back to the center. The center was on the main screen, and it's a little bit better like that. So now it says toggle. Let's toggle the bulb, and then let's click that. I'll click it. I made the click very hard so that you could hear it. I don't know if you heard it, but I guess you did. But the bulb is not working. It's like, come on, what's going on? What bullshit this Flutter is doing? Yeah, so it's not working. So I'll click toggle again, and then again. It should be on now. But now the thing is, something's going on, because if I now press hot reload, it's really showing on. What's going on? If I toggle it and then press hot reload, it really refreshes. Yeah. So if I say toggle again and then hot reload, then it's funny. The thing is going on right now is that when I click the button, I have to press the hot reload to refresh the screen, and then I see the changes. But that's stupid because nobody's gonna do that. I want to see the changes immediately, no? So what's happening? Well, this is very important for you to know, okay? Now when there's no loop in, no, there's no loop. There's no loop, exactly. That's a good point, Miguel. In video games, there is a loop because you are constantly painting frames. But in Flutter, we said that it does the opposite. It tries to save you from painting frames all the time, because that's a lot of battery wasted. And the idea is that it only paints when it knows that it has to paint something. And we didn't, here we changed the state, but we didn't tell Flutter. We didn't tell Flutter that we changed the state. So Flutter thought that it didn't have to refresh the screen at all. Okay? Yeah, the thing is, when I press the hot reload thing, Flutter in a way receives the message that it should repaint the screen. And therefore we see the change that we made on the state. Actually, to see this better, I didn't tell you this before, but you can press you can print the information, and let's say something like lamp is, and then here I'll say is on, question mark, on or off. And whenever you print anything on a Flutter, what's going on now? Is it where did I? Oh, okay, I forgot one. Okay, thanks. Yeah, Mikael, yeah, that's exactly the case. And it's not a new frame, actually. Flutter will optimize to the point of only refreshing exactly the widgets that did change. So it's not going to repaint everything because it has a cache of all the stuff it's already pre-computed about the sizes of things, about the blurs that some shadows have and stuff. So the GPU is going to composite a super pre-calculated frame in which only the thing you change is going to change. So it's very cheap to refresh the screen. That's the idea. Let's go for the print for now, because I was saying if you execute some print inside your Flutter code, you're going to see it on the debug console. I always press Ctrl-Shift-Y, but in here you see any reloads you make, and yeah, you remember that my reload times were horrible with the emulator, like 800 milliseconds, but the reloads now are quite fast. They are 165 because this is a native app now. So let's see what happens when I click. And if I click it now, oh, sorry, I didn't hot reload. Sorry, I have to save first, okay? Because this code is not on the app yet. Let's first reload, and it says 467 milliseconds. And now when I press the toggle, in here it says lamp is off, but I see it on, yeah? And then I toggle again, it says lamp is on, but it doesn't refresh the screen. What's going on? Okay, so it's exactly like I said here. We didn't tell Flutter that the state of this widget changed. But we changed it anyway, but we didn't tell Flutter. How do we tell Flutter that we are changing the state? That's the key. Because if we don't say anything, Flutter will be lazy. It doesn't want to paint anything unless you tell it to. It doesn't want to paint. So how do we tell it to that we want to change the state? Well, actually, how do you tell it that we did change the state? You do it by calling a method on the state class. I didn't enter too much on this, but you can look here at the base class of my lightbulb state. It says state of lightbulb. This is the stateful widget associated with this state. So it's a generic class. And in this class, there's a method called setState, which says, okay, I'm changing the state. And that's the method which will tell Flutter ultimately to repaint. So let's do set state. If I read set state, actually, I get a little template that if I press return here now, it writes for me a little strange call, and if you dissect that, this is calling the set state method, but inside it there's a function, there's a Dart function being passed as a parameter. Inside this function is where you will change your state. So let's move this up. Let's put it inside this function, like this, okay? So any state changes you want to make, sometimes it's just one instruction, so we can make this shorter maybe by putting the arrow thing. But anyway, I don't care much. But if you make big changes, like you add items on a list or you reorder stuff on anything, you can do anything inside. But once you finish, Flutter's gonna mark this widget as dirty in a way. I don't know if you've made any Windows system or something, but Windows systems also do that. They don't want to repaint the screen all the time. So they only repaint the windows that changed or something. And everybody does that except video games, because video games are for fun, and energy is not a concern. And also in video games, almost everything changes all the time. But in Windows systems, it doesn't. So yeah, it's very typical to mark some part of the screen as dirty and then only refresh that part. Windows has been doing that from the beginning. Okay. So now I'm calling set state, which is fine, and I'm telling Flutter to refresh. So this is the ultimate implementation of the light bulb widget. Let's go for refresh that. Now you see that the lamp was off, the state was preserved. The new build method is in the new code now, so I am recreating the widget every time and saying okay, set state and all that. And then now I click here, sorry, in the toggle, and you see that the light bulb really does toggle. Okay, so the this is the conclusion of the stateful widget thing. Okay, you need therefore kind of three important pieces in a way. You need to split. The split was made by the Dart plugin, because we changed to stateful widget automatically, and it was written for us. But in general, you have to split your widget class into two. The first one is this one. We haven't seen yet what's the use of the light bulb actually, because it seems like a stupid class. It doesn't have anything, but we will see that it has a little bit of stuff. But you split it into two. You have the widget and the state associated with the widget. The widget is capable of creating the state, and you have to really override this method. If you call it something else, the complaint is going to be big, because Lightbulb now says, no, you are missing the implementation of create state. So stateful widget is an abstract class. It relies on you to provide this method, okay? And in this method, I create my state, which is special for my widget. Yeah? And then on the state, you have the build method, which we already know. And this build method will use any pieces of state that you have. And finally, anytime you change that, you have to call set state. Okay? So more or less, that's the structure of everything. Now, there's a diagram that I was looking at before, which is this one. It's on the slides. But it more or less summarizes this very well, I think. Okay, which is that we have kind of these three pieces, like the stateful widget itself. This is the state of it. In this case, it's a counter that we will do. Just the next example is going to be a counter. Yeah, there's a counter, and then there's this method that says create state. I'll explain to you later what this widget, this gray widget thing means, because we don't need it yet. And then the build method produces the widget tree from the state, not from the widget, but from the state. Okay. Is this clear? Because I would like to stop now and clear up anything that you might ask, because I need it to be crystal clear. Is this clear, more or less? We will do a lot of stateful widgets anyway, but the first one has to be really clear. It is clear. Okay, nice. Okay, so that's nice. So let's make another stateful widget. Okay, I'll go to the widgets folder now, and I'll say new file. I'll call it counter dart, and inside here I will use another template. We were using the st-less template. Now there's an st-full template like this, and it generates a stateful widget for us, and you will see how funny that looks because you have to be careful a little bit. But let's press return there, and now I have 5 cursors. You see 5 cursors on the screen. Yeah, in here I'll write the name of my widget, and let's call it counter, just like that. And you see that I'm writing counter in 5 places, but that makes sense because the counter state class has to have the name, or should have the name associated with it, and that's fine. Now when I finish, the normal way to finish is to press the tab key, and then you appear inside this container, which is fine for now. And then since we didn't import anything, we should make control dot in here and say import library package flutter material, and then everything gets fixed, and we have already the 2 classes we need, and we don't have to fiddle with this, or everything's taken care for us. Okay, now let's start this part by saying that the counter class, which is the stateful widget itself, can have some configuration. And it's going to be like it was with the stateless widgets, which was immutable. It was unchangeable. So sometimes when you make a stateful widget, the light bulb might be a more or less good example. Let's suppose the image. I put on the light bulb, I put 150 pixels of width, and let me see the resource monitor. So we're doing 1 megabit per second. That's not a lot. Freeze like oh my god, yeah. Yeah. Here it doesn't oscillate as much, but let me check the CPU. Maybe the CPU is doing something funny. No, it's not. It's not so bad. Yeah, well, it oscillates, but it says 1 megabit. 1 megabit is nothing. I have 500 megabits actually, or even more. Yeah, well, let's tell me again if things now it's going fine. Okay, perfect. Let's resume. But anyway, if you lost some of the stuff, what I was saying was that the widget is split into 2, but the idea is that the part that's fixed. So some stateful widgets are going to have a part that doesn't change. For instance, the light bulb has some size, but the state doesn't alter that. It only alters the appearance of being illuminated, but not the size. Yeah. So the size is a constant for the whole duration of the widget. What I mean is that some of the properties of a stateful widget are its state, but some of them are not. So some of them are fixed. In the case of the counter, what we're going to do is we're going to put some properties on the counter widget itself, the stateful widget, which are going to be final, and it's going to be the size of the counter or something like that. Or we could put some limits to it or things, configuration stuff. Let's say size. Size is the easiest, I think. and I'll say final double size, so it's a final thing. If I type control dot in there, it will create the constructor for me. So it creates this. That's the key, which we don't need, but let's remove it. So it creates my constructor for me. So whenever I instantiate the counter, it's gonna need the size. We can make it required even. Let's make it required so that we don't forget to put it there. Yeah. And so the size is going to be the same all the time. And then the counter state is going to be an integer. This is clear. So let's call it count. Now I'll make it private, but in reality, since the counter state class is already private, it's not necessary too much. Okay. And I'll say the count is 0 when you create this object. And then inside the container, we're going to say that there's a child, which is a text thing. And inside the text, I'll use the count. So I'll show the count. And in the style, I'll put the size. So, yeah, so I'll say text style, sorry. And in here, I'll say font size. And now I'll say, wait, they told us when they created this widget, somebody used this widget and put a size in there. So I should use the size that they were telling us. But the problem is now that you see clearly that I'm on the counter state widget, but the counter widget, on the counter state object, but the counter widget, which is another object, is not the same. So I cannot say size here because this is not a field of mine. It's a field of the counter. How do I access that? Well, interesting. That's what this gray arrow means. From the state, and this is handled by Flutter, by the way. When Flutter creates the state, it asks the stateful widget to do it, to create it. But after that, it changes the state. It sets the who was the widget that created it in the first place. So it updates this arrow. So inside the counter state, we have a field called widget, which refers to the widget that created us. So if I say widget dot and say size, I have access to this object here. Okay, which is super nice. Okay, so from the state we can access the widget by using widget, and inside there I'll see all the properties that are more or less static or not static, I mean unchangeable or immutable or something else. So I'll put commas in there everywhere, and we go down like that, Shift Alt F, or format document, it's the same. And so now I have a counter which has a text which shows the count. Let's try it like that, and later on we can update it. So I'll save that, and let's go to the main screen. And actually, well, the bulb is a little too big, but yeah. Well, let's just substitute it. Let's say counter. Let's wait a little bit so that it does fine. It says auto import from blah blah, and I'll click it. It already says size something because it knows that I need the size. I don't like this absolute package thing, so I'll keep it like dot dot. If I organize the imports now with Shift Alt O, it removes the one I don't use and it adds the one I use, and it's they separated from they are separated with an empty line. So now the counter, the size of the counter, I don't know, let's say something outrageous like 60, very big. So if I save that now, I should see exactly. I see a counter of 0 now. Now it's showing the state, I know that, because I program it myself in here, but I cannot change it yet. Okay, let's make it so that I can change that. How do we do that? Well, we can do this in many ways, but we could do it like let's make the counter like it can go up and down, and let's use some 2 buttons for that. So let's put the text inside a row. Control dot wrap with row, and in here I'll use, before the text, I'll use a type of button which we already saw in the lamp example, which was called floating action button. Yeah. In general, I'll type some of the letters. Oof, it takes a while. So yeah, this one. Yeah. And actually, we learned that there was a mini version. So let's use the mini version actually. And inside the floating action button, you can put anything. So I'll say child, and I'll put an icon in here. So I'll say icons, and I'll say remove because this is it's gonna be the button that says that decreases the count. Okay, so decrements. And also complaining that there's a missing parameter called on pressed. Almost all buttons, I think, or all buttons have the on pressed. So now we do the same operation as before. We put a function in there, and I'll say, okay, let's decrement the count. Let's say count minus minus. Okay, and that's fine. I'll do Control S. You see the floating exponent is a little bit big, but well, we don't care. But we will make the row smaller because otherwise it's not center. I'll say main. Yeah, let's say size because it's much easier. Main axis size min. And yeah, so that makes the row a little smaller, so it gets center anyway. I can just show you the boxes so you can see it's clear that the row now is smaller. And okay, so now we have a count minus minus thing. Let's try it. But it doesn't work. Why is not working? Anybody can tell me? What did I do? Exactly. Thanks a lot. Now I am totally making this up. Thanks, Mikel. But I guess some of you will encounter that, and you will get mad that the state is not changing or the widget is not changing. Always this. I don't know if you've seen that movie Memento, but if you've seen it, you know that the protagonist is putting tattoos on his body to remember things. Well, you can go tomorrow to make yourself a tattoo which says "Remember set state." Okay, because yeah, well, unless you get the hang of it really quickly, it's very typical to forget this in the beginning. So that's why I'm making the same mistake myself. Okay, nice. So yeah, set state, perfect. So let's save that. It says -10. That's the number of times I clicked that. Yeah, until I got tired of, of trying. But the state was already -10 because, as you remember, we only did hot reload and it kept the state. So the state had a count of something. Now it recompiled this method, so the method is new, but the state was kept, which is nice. And let's make another button then. So I'll say floating action button. And yeah, mini true, the same thing. And child is an icon. This time it's going to be icons add because it's the plus sign. And then in the on pressed, I'll say set state. Oh my god, yeah. Sometimes tries to help you, doesn't help anything. Let's put a comma there, open there, and say count plus plus. Yeah. Super. So Shift Alt F. Nice. I'll save that. And now we have a counter that we can change. Actually, it's ugly completely because it moves. If it's one digit, everything moves and all that. But it's anyway. I can use that. Since we are here, yeah, Mark is asking something, I guess. So I'll wait for that. So yeah, let's pause a little bit for questions. Do you have any questions? No? Well, let me do something then, because here we have a little bit of repetition, and in here one would be tempted to create a new widget called something. But in this case, since we need to change the state, if we do a new widget for these two buttons, which are very similar, we won't have access to the state then. It's a little bit more difficult, and we will do, well, actually we can do something. We can do it two ways. So what I'm doing now is trying to get rid of this repetition. Like, this is almost the same thing, only changes what? The icon and the instruction which I have to, yeah? So let's make it in two ways. Let's do I'll remove the repetition in two different ways. One of them is this one, which is interesting. I think I haven't used it yet, but it's an option you have. So let's suppose that I say, okay, this piece of code is so similar to this one that I will make a method inside counter state which is called widget build button, which I don't know what we'll receive yet, but we will adjust it later. And then here I'll say Control V, so I'll put all the code that was up down there before. And I'll say, okay, what changes between these two pieces of code? Okay, it's the icon, because everything else is the same, and this function in here. Okay, so I'll say, okay, so I'll ask for some icon data, and then I'll ask for a function. Actually, to say that you have a function in here, I don't know if you can say that directly. Let's try that function fn. Does that work? If I say void function fn, that, yeah, it does work. So this defines the type of the function. Functions also have types. Now I'm being really explicit. I could say fn and it would be a dynamic parameter, but it's nice to just write the type of the function, and you can do it like that. If you understand this, it's fine. If you don't, just remove it. We don't need it so much. But let's put the parameters in place. So the icon data is this thing. Yeah, somebody bringing a package. So yeah, whatever. And the set state part is the function. So let's type fn in there. So now I have a little build button that I can call with only the different parts from the two cases. Okay. So in this case would be build button, and I would say icons remove. This is the first argument, and the second argument is this little function. So I'll write it like that, and then I'll put a comma. So I can remove all that like that. Since the function is so small, I can even make it an arrow function like this. And it's really one line, and it's nice because yeah. So in this case it's built, actually I'll copy the upper part with control, no, sorry, it's shift alt, yeah, and then now with the alt arrow you can move stuff, and then it's gonna be add and plus plus. So it's a nice way of removing repetition. Okay, did you get that more or less? Moving is just you press the alt key and then you press the arrow. It's quite funny, and then it starts moving stuff around. Yes, exactly. And Control Alt Arrow duplicates. Sorry, Shift Alt Arrow duplicates. So you have many lines that are almost the same. You can really run quite a lot with that. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that looks much nicer. Yeah. And the reason that we did is because we need to call set state in here. Yeah. So that's a nice way. Now, if you go really far, let's think about it for a moment. Now, this method business of generating widgets inside a method, this is okay. For this case, it's quite fine because it removes repetition and all that. But if you go too far and start making like 15 methods for that, let's suppose that we did the lamp example doing this, then it's not so fine. Why? Well, because the granularity of how Flutter splits the screen into parts is related to the build methods. If you have a big screen, you should split it into many widgets. Why? because then Flutter can only refresh the parts that changed. Okay, so splitting into many small widgets is a good thing. But in this case, it's fine also to just generate this little part and make it consistent. And you can do this with styles and stuff, which is cumbersome to write on the part. But let's try actually this first. So now that it's done, if I, for instance, change the color, I'll say background color, colors green, it should change in both of them, and I'm reaping the benefits of only having one copy, so that I don't have to change it in both places. Yeah, this is a small improvement, but it's fine. Now, how would I do it if I do a widget instead of building a method? Well, then I would do something like that. I would copy this, I would cut it, and down here I would say stls. I'll call it a counter button. You see that it's a private thing. Now I'll paste the code in here, and many things will not work. Actually, I have to remove this thing, but you see that the function is needed and also the icon. So let's cut that and put it in here like they were, like if they are fields. So we can make them fields. So since this is a stateless widget, I'll say final in here as well. Now it complains that there's no constructor. Actually, we can force it. We can make it automatically. You can press Control dot, create constructor for final fields, and now remove the key. Yeah, and this build. But now the build is twice there. Let's remove these other things. And the problem is now that the set state doesn't work like that. So instead of that, let's call fn onPressed F2. So that's I press F2 to change the name. It takes a while. And then instead of saying set state here, we cannot say set state here because that this is not a stateful widget and the state is not here. So I'll only say onPressed like this, and I have to pass it down. So this is the way I would do. I would write this widget for now. Nobody uses counter button yet, but how do I now implement it? Well, I'll have to do counter button. I'll say icon and then on press, and in here I have to say set state a little longer. Yeah, this is a little stranger, because here you have two arrow functions. One is for the button, to wait until the button is pressed to execute this part. And the other is for set state, which we tell it to execute these state changes inside this set state stuff. Okay? Yeah, you see how yeah, how curious the notation is, or maybe difficult is to really understand all what's happening. But now we made it like a widget, and now I'm gonna copy this part because it's almost the same, only changing the remove for add and the count plus plus. In this case, I think I like better the version with a method in there. So it's a fine use of that. But this also works. So let's refresh. Actually, let's restart. What's gonna happen if I do a restart? Anybody tell me? If I press this green curly arrow button, what's gonna happen? Actually, what time is it, by the way? Yeah, no, it's fine. Anybody can guess? If I press the restart, what will I see? Actually, let me check. Okay. No? Well, it's gonna recreate the state, and the state starts at 0. So then we will have a counter with 0. Okay, let's restart, and then it says 0. Okay, and now I'll try that. It works fine. I can increment and decrement, and it's not pretty, but I don't care much. Okay. So in this case we have, let's review a little bit. This helper widget, it's not important, but the important part is we stateful widget have two parts. Now in this case the counterpart had some size. Actually we didn't use that. Let's let's use that. Let's make it a lot bigger, like 100. If I say that now, you see that the 1 is preserved. This is what I was referring to before. Now the counter widget was recreated, but the state was not. The state was kept. So that's the mechanism is very precise, so that I don't lose what what I'm looking at right now on the screen. Like I have an 11 here, and I want to change the size. Okay, let's change the size. If that changed and I restarted the app, I would lose all the flow in a way. So the hot restart in Flutter depends very much on the state of stuff. So review. The stateful widget contains the configuration of this widget, the part of the configuration that doesn't change. So this configuration does not change. And then the state part contains the data that changes. Okay, and that's the state. What's the state for? Then whenever I need to access the fixed part, the size, I have to refer to it like this, widget dot size. And whenever I want to change the state, I have to call set state, so that the state so that Flutter is awakened by that, and then the screen is refreshed. Okay, this is the theme now, that stateful widgets are all like that. So Mark is writing to me, so let's wait to see what he says. No? Okay, you raised something. Okay. So is it okay until now? Do you understand all this? Because it's nice. Now we will start making a little more difficult stateful widgets, but all of them have this this template in a way. Like they have a separate class and all that. And I'll remind you that this diagram is very useful to see the point. Yeah. And remember this widget thing that lets you access the widget from the state. Okay. Nice. So let's do something else now. Let's work. Actually, we should actually explore the buttons in a way. Let's go to the main screen and talk about different types of buttons we have. I'll keep the center, I think, but I'll put a column below it. So I'll type control dot wrap with column, and then down here I'll put a row, and inside the row I'll show you different kinds of buttons. Okay, all this won't affect the app very much, but you will see how more or less they look, and they have to be used. Okay. Now, the one we saw before was called raised button. Raised button. It's called raised because it's a piece of cardboard, like it's on top of the white, let's say, paper of the app. In material design, they kind of think of little pieces of the screen as if they were pieces of materials, and they have the elevation and stuff. For instance, the floating action button in here, if I press it, it goes up because I see the shadow get bigger, and there's a ripple effect and all of that. All of this is determined by the material design specification. So the raised button is like that. It has a child. Let's put raised button, so that raised button, so that we know what was that. And then I'll say on pressed, and on the on pressed I'll do nothing. But I'll put that because you can disable or enable a button by removing this function. So if you don't put any function at all, the button is going to be disabled. Let's take a look actually. Yeah, the column is larger now, but I don't care much. But actually, let's instead of center, let's say padding then. I'll put some padding. Yeah, and I'll say padding edge insets all 24. So we have some margin on the sides. Something like this. Yeah, my bad. You see that now the raise button is totally gray and it seems like it doesn't work. If I put on pressed, even if it's a function that does nothing, it will come to light, and now I can click it and it raises itself, which is nice. So that's one case. Now separated from that, I'll put a size box of width 10. I'll put another button. Let's explore some other cases. There's this flat button thing. So this is almost the same. So let's call it flat button, and then on pressed. Another empty function. I don't care much about the effect of pressing that. But if I do that, you will see that the flat button doesn't look like a button in the beginning. But if you go there on top of it, and actually on Windows, since there is hover, on the hover you already see that there's something there. If I click it, then the shadow appears. But it's almost like it's at the same height of the page. Yeah. So that's why it's called flat. It's not raised. Okay. So this size was a little tight, so let's put 16. And also I'll copy that, Shift Alt and then Alt down, so I can drag these things. There's another one called outline button, very nice one. And this one is like almost like the flat one, but it has an outline, so it's a little bit more visible. Yeah. Let's call child text outline button. And also on pressed nothing. Okay, let's save that. You see the outline button? It's almost like a flat button but with an outline, and when I press it you see the blue color, which is characteristic of the whole application. It's taken from the theme. And also the hover does its thing. All of them have the ripple effect, so you see the ripple as long as I click it, or if I there's an animation that clearly shows you what you're doing. This is very important for mobile phones, maybe not so much for desktops, but anyway. And let's put another one. Now, I'm going to show you something else right now, which is that we already are consuming part of the screen. I could make the window larger, but I'll make it small like that. And I'll show you something. If I put another button, let's go... yeah, actually I have the icon button now. And the icon button needs an icon, which is going to be a widget of type icon, which is like this. Icons dot, what can we use? Let's put shopping cart, for instance. Yeah, shopping basket. Shopping basket is nice. Okay, let's use shopping basket there. And the icon button also has an on pressed, and something like that. And then if I put it in there, I think the row is gonna, yeah, it's overflown. Yeah, it says that it doesn't fit because the screen is too tight. And then if I do like that, this fixes the error. So yeah, and you see that the icon button it's been designed with the mobile in mind, because this area that has, which is really big, it's for your thumb. Thumbs are quite big, and when you press the screen you obscure the icon itself. So it's important to know if it was click or not. That's why it has such a big shadow there. Okay, but it didn't fit. Yeah, it wasn't. We didn't have enough space. Now in this case, it's not a problem for me to in a way wrap the row around and keep putting buttons down here, occupying 2 lines, let's say, instead of 1 line. So the row is fine for cases in which you want to control and want to be absolutely horizontal. But sometimes you say no. If it spills to the next line, it's fine for me, and that's what the wrap does. You press call when you put your finger or when you lift it. I think, well, it's a nice question, that one. I believe it's when you press it, when you... no, you are right in some sense. This might be dependent on some of the widgets. Some of the widgets, yeah, it depends on one thing. Interesting. Okay, yeah, exactly, yeah. Because you touch lower level events in a way. Flutter goes a little more high level, even if you can really even get a keyboard event widget and stuff. But I think these guys depend on if you put a long press or things like that. Because if you have a long press, it will react when you lift your finger instead of when you press it, because it's waiting for you maybe to long press it. I think that's the case. Let's try it. I'll say print icon button here. Let's try that. Print icon button, and I'll say Control Shift Y to show the screen to the yeah. Let's make it larger, and then I click it. So I'll say I'll press it. No, it's when I lift the finger. When I lift, yeah, it's when I lift the finger. And the other guys, let's check it as well. It's when I lift. Okay, let's print flat button in that one as well. And then, yeah, it's when I lift the finger. Yeah, absolutely. There must be reasons for that. The mobile phones are trickier because sometimes people press their thumb twice. You know, for instance, that in Google Maps, they if you press your thumb twice, it does a zoom. Yeah? Now, because of that, browsers cannot immediately react to your tap, to your presses, because they have to wait if you do or not do a double tap. So it takes like a 300 milliseconds and stuff. And there are lots of little shit like that, and it makes it very difficult because Flutter is trying to play the game of satisfying everybody at once. Now we are compiling a native Windows application, but it's yeah, it's programmed with that in mind. So I guess yeah, so they have to take that into account all the time. Anyway, yeah, that's a nice question. I didn't think about it and I wasn't sure, so I had to try. Let's fix this row thing because it's so ugly that it's taking too much space. And for this case, you only have to do one thing. You substitute row for wrap, and you will see that the wrap does the same as the row, but when it runs out of space, it puts stuff in the next line in a way. It's like it's justifying some text or something. It's like a paragraph of widgets, something like that. And then now the icon button is down here, which is nice. And you see something else, which is the shadow is below the raised button. So there are layers already in Flutter in a way. So the materials that are up, they are painted after. So the order of painting is not exactly the same as the order of declaration in a way. Like even in a stack, you can have stuff like that probably. So the shadows are on the paper, but the raised button has a material on top, so it should be painted before. So that's something Flutter also has lots of optimizations for. That I remember having seen a YouTube talk by the guys from the Flutter team explaining all that, and it was quite dense and difficult, but very nice. So, okay, so I have a lot of buttons. I think we are forgetting the floating action one that we already know. Let's put one just for completeness. So we're gonna keep this code. So let's and in the floating action button, let's put no, let's put an icon because it's the most typical. Let's do icons. I don't know. Add. Is there a yeah? Add a photo. Add a photo is nice. And yeah, so the on press is nothing. Yep, what happened? Is it? Yeah, okay. So yeah, now I have a. It's ugly, but actually the wrap can. You can tell the wrap to put some space between one line and the next. I think So I'll say run spacing. I think that's the one. How much space to place between the runs themselves? Yes. So run spacing, I'll say 16. And then I have a spacing of 16 between widgets and also between rows. So that's super nice. Yeah, you see. Actually, I forgot to put this sized box on between these two. So let's copy that. It was Shift Alt, yeah, and now Alt like this. Okay, super, perfect. Okay, that's a super nice. The wrap is super nice for these cases. Okay, that's a floating action button. And there are many more. Yeah, I'm not gonna show all. The video about this is longer, so you can look at that or even jump in between to see different, or go to the end or something. But more or less all the buttons work the same, so that's not a mystery in a way. Let me see what's the time. Oh, it's a little late. But anyway, let's also add another. So buttons are stateful in a sense that if I click them, there's a state associated with them because they're painted differently if I interact with them. So they are stateful inside. Yeah, because of the ripple, the animations, all of that. Animations are state actually, because whenever I click a raised button, Flutter has to repaint quite a lot of stuff 60 frames per second as well as in games. But it only takes a while and then it stops and then everything dies. But it's on demand in a way. But it's a fast framework for that. And so there are stateful widgets as well. But one of the other ones that we will be using, so what I have, yeah, I have a counter of this wrap. So let's go down the wrap and then put another widget called text field. Text field. And sorry. And the text field is for entering text, and we will use it whenever we need the user to write something to us, to configure, to put its name, to enter a message, things like that. So it's called text field. And if I don't say anything else and I save, you will see that I get this line, and I can write inside it. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And now, if I press return, the focus disappears, but I don't know what to do with it. Like, what do I do? So I'll show you the easiest way to work with a text field for a simple example. So the easiest way to deal with this is to use two methods called onChanged and onSubmit. So onChanged is a method of the text field which will be called every time the text changes. So this is a function, but it's not a function like in the onPress, because the onChange will receive a string, which is the text that changed. Okay, so here I'll write a function receiving the text and doing something with it. We can do something stupid like printing text changed colon and then putting the text in there. It's a stupid thing, but we will see it at least. And that's one method. Let's try it. If I save now. By the way, if I save now, I still see A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which means that the text field has a state inside, and this was kept through the reload in a way, which is nice because I was testing this, so I want to keep the state. Otherwise, if I reload, you will see that of course this cleans up, like it's everything is clean now. But now I'll say no, the counter has to be 7. I'll go here, let's say A, B, C, D, E. Now every time I change the text, you see here that it says A, B, C, D, F, G, A, E, E, whatever. Yeah, I receive the text every time it changes. That's one way of dealing with text. And another way is if you don't care about changes but care about the moment the user says that's okay. So there's another method called unsubmitted. And in here you also receive the text, but this method is only called whenever you are satisfied. General for the application I'm running now, this will be the return key. But if you are doing a mobile one, if somebody is trying the mobile one now, when I click on a text field, the keyboard shows up, and then the keyboard has a specific key for this. And yeah, I cannot show you now, but some maybe next day I'll run the emulator again, and then we can see that. And but the keyboard changes as a function of the place you are. And if you can send some text, sometimes the keyboard, instead of a return, has a little send button down on the right. So that's what I mean. And here we can say the text submitted, and I'll say, okay, the text was this. Actually, I think I'll put some um, quotes in there so that we can see better what the text is. Yeah, something like that. And now it's reloaded, it's kept the state. I'll type dash or a space, and you see that spaces, I can see them now. And then finally I'll type enter, and it says text submitted. On Android and on iOS, I don't know exactly what how is that, but yeah. So I guess the keyboard also changes, but on Android it's very clear. The keyboard changes. Yeah, and Mikel was kicked out for some reason. Okay. Yeah. So this is the easiest way. Let's suppose this way is in one in which you don't care much about controlling the text at all, but you do care about the text when it's finished, and that's it. And maybe that's enough for many cases. Okay. Now let's just touch a little bit on the properties of that, because I'm running out of time more or less. I don't want to be 2 hours talking, that's too much. So let's finish at 35 something. Yeah. So what we want to do now is to change a little bit the styling of the text field. So you have also decorations and things like that. So let's play with that a little bit. So we have okay, can you use the tab to swap from that's, yeah, you can do that, but there has to be a way to tell Flutter that they are correlated, like one is after the other and stuff, and that is done by using a widget called form. A form is exactly like that. It's saying all these widgets are together because the guy is editing something. And I don't think we will go as far as doing forms, because this takes too much time. Yeah, when you do your project or your app, you know, in the second part of the course, maybe we can talk about that. But for now, I think I won't bother. But yeah, you absolutely, you are right. It's nice that you, when you press tab, you go to the next widget. And in Android, you see that on the right, on the bottom right, the keyboard changes from a submit thing to an arrow thing, and when you press the arrow, it jumps to the next. So yeah, so that's taken care of clearly. And what that count on as submitted? Yeah, exactly. For that particular widget, if you go to the next one, it's like you already gave that as done, and I think it's called, the submitted is called, yeah. So let's see the decorations, because this has a decoration, but you can see now that it's not a box decoration, it's an input decoration. Okay, so it's decoration, input decoration, and inside input decoration I have a lot of stuff. And input decoration is made like that because many inputs deal with this. Well, it's really big. So if I press Control Space, it's like, whoa, lots of stuff. Yeah. But there are funny things, like for instance, there's a prefix, there's a label text, which is nice. For instance, if I say label text, and the label text is like, the guy was entering its name, or his name, or her name, sorry. Its name is like a robot name. So label text is like, okay, let's say, this is a string or not? I think so, yeah. So let's say, first name or something. Yeah, let's say the guy was writing his first name. If I say that, you can see clearly that the first name appears here, then up here, so I know what I'm doing. And whenever I erase it, actually it doesn't. I have to click outside. No, it keeps it. No, because it keeps the focus. Let's press tab. Okay, yeah, it's small and large. If I type it like that, and if there's nothing, the label gets bigger. I like that quite a lot. So it says first name. I click there. It's small. It reminds you what you are doing, and then you can type. Okay, I'll say I'm. By the name, somebody in the campus, since they put your username as a function of your ID, your DNI in Spain. My DNI says that I'm called Pablo, but in fact, in everybody knows me except my father, possibly, as Pau, since I don't remember any anymore. Like it's been so many years. So if you wanna call me Pau instead of Pablo, because some of you have written to me and it's understandable, of course. The username is it says Pablo FD or something, but yeah, please refer to me as Pau. It's just I don't care much, but the other day I remember somebody called me in class and I didn't respond because I'm so used to being called Pau that somebody was called Pablo, and for a while I thought they were calling somebody else. And that was stupid, but the reason is that I'm very much used to being called Pau. Okay. Anyway, that's a little, but since I was putting the first name now, I thought about it. Okay. Uh, okay, so that's a label. So what else do we have? We have a background. No, no. You have border. Yeah, border is fine. So border is an input border, which input border. Let's say input border. Now dot. No, it's not dot. It's like that. Border side. And border side dot none. No, how is that? If we change it, I don't remember now very well. Let's say none exactly. And what do I have? Border side. Okay. It's a normal constructor maybe. Yes. So I have to say let's say color. I would put something stupid, green, and with 1. And now that the text box changes a little bit. And input border, what is it? Must not the border side parameter must not be null. It is not null. Come on. No. Abstract classes. Sorry. No. This is input border, but yeah, the input border class is abstract, but I am looking what the name was. I'm getting confused. Underline, outline. Okay, outline input border. Oh, let's try that then. Sorry. Outline input border, which is already done for us, I think. Oh, perfect. Yeah, much better. So border side and then border side. Width. Let's put only a width and might take the color from the theme. Let's do that. Yeah, exactly. You see the point? I think I like this one much better than the other one. On Android they got obsessed about this line, and I don't like it one bit. But yeah, this one is fine. Actually, let's put some size box in here. Height 50, so that it's not so something like that. Okay, and that's nice if I press return now. But now it keeps the label up here, which is fine because there's a border, and it would look stupid maybe. Well, you can change a lot of stuff in here. So the decoration has whatever. Enabled border, you can change types of borders. I remember putting some background in it, which was nice. Focus color, unbelievable, a lot of stuff. Yeah, the suffix and the prefix are nice. For instance, if I say suffix and I say I want an icon there, icons visible, I think it's called. Visibility, yes. You know these password fields now that they show you that you are looking at, let you see the password or not, depending on, well, if you say suffix visibility, you can put the icon there. Actually, it doesn't look fine because it made the boxes taller. So let's toggle the back painting. Yeah, you see, it's a little wonky. Uh, we could make it smaller, maybe. I don't. That you can already put an icon there, even if you have to adjust it. Uh, is it lagging? Oh, sorry. Is it lagging, guys? So I can work with it, but next day we will work with it much more. If there was if you missed something, we will talk about it in more depth. This example, I'll keep it like this so that you have everything I've done. Okay. Anybody else lagging? It doesn't seem like that, but I would like to know, because if it's difficult to follow, yeah. Today we had a couple of times where it was wonky. Okay. Well, yeah. I hope it's only one person. Okay. So as a summary of what we've done, today was about stateful widgets, and also not only the ones we wrote. Next day we will write more complicated ones related to the text field. You will see why, because we will be able to control the text field much better by putting a controller, and the controller has to be on the state of some widget. So we will upgrade that. But the idea is that stateful widgets keep some piece of state, and that lets us paint differently as a function of the state. Okay. And also, some of the stateful widgets are already made, like buttons are done already. Lots of buttons you can use. And also the text field is very useful. And more or less that's it. But the important part is the conceptual difference between stateless and stateful. What happens when I reload? Why hot reload does one thing and then I have to restart sometimes? When and why and blah blah. So you can use the code that I will upload right now to play with this if you need. And since you have the task pending, probably I suppose you have to work on that first. So the priority is that, maybe. But yeah, if you want to play with these things, it's a good idea also. And don't put any state on your own task. Even if we are explaining that, I will assume that the task, so the first deliverable or the first project, is only painting. So you only use stateless widgets. Let's keep the stateful widgets for after we explain all of this. Okay. And next day we will see how to change screens and show an alert dialog and do things like that, and also use the text field a little more in depth. Okay. But yeah, I guess if you don't have any questions about all this that are still remaining, anybody need some clarification or what? Let me put some size blocks in here while I wait. So everything fine? I'll take silence as a yes, more or less. Okay, thanks, Adrian. It's nice to confirm, though. For me, at least, because I don't see your faces. You might be very angry, but I cannot know. Uh, okay. So nice. Okay, so then I'll see you on Thursday. If the alarm state in Catalonia hasn't gone as far as putting everyone online at the universities, which could be, by the way, we are so bad already that anything can happen. But yeah. But in principle, this week I'll see you on Thursday, and I'll do the class there, and I'll try I'll try not to be so stressed. But the other day, I had to install Flutter for the third time, which was so stupid. Anyway, so yeah, I'll see you on Thursday, anywhere it is, if, maybe in person or online. I don't know. Okay, so right, in 5 minutes you'll have the code. So I'll see you on Thursday then. Bye bye. Actually, while I'm here, I'm gonna stop this and upload the code right now. Bye bye. Okay. Actually, let's go here. Flutter clean. Super. Bye bye. Let's close that. Let's go users. Ta-ta-ta. Ta-ta-ta-ta. Stateful. Okay. So let's make a zip file of this. Okay. And now. Buffa. The website is going crazy. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna close the uh, the session now. Okay. See you then.
Hola, bueno, xavals, sembla que haurem de començar la classe sense el profe. Vale, vull que tothom posi el ping d'acceptar, sisplau, si esteu aquí. Ara procediré a llegir el PowerPoint. Espera, m'acaben d'informar pel pinganillo que no tinc els privilegis de presentador. Per tant, haurem d'ajornar la classe per quan torni el profe. Vale, ja està, adéu.
Profe, tengo una pregunta.
Sí, digues, Miquel. Pues això és una molt bona pregunta. La veritat és que la meva resposta seria que busquis... No, que meditis, miris dins del teu cor i allà trobaràs la resposta. Saps què et falta? El poder de l'amistat, tio.